You know, if you guys all thought the red f***ing wedding was brutal, then I'll be double dog damned. You ain't seen nothing yet. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to yet another installment of TV Thoughts, and as always, I thank you all so much for stopping by the channel today, and I hope you enjoy your stay. This time around, we're looking at Game of Thrones Season 4. Now, in this video today, I'm not going to dive too deep into the technicals because it should be a given that they're all still f***ing brilliant by this point. I'm talking the direction, the impeccable writing, the blood and gore, it's all goddamn beautiful. So this video is mainly going to be talking about my favorite story elements from Season 4, and there's certainly a lot to dig into. Basically, I'm gonna tell you what I liked about these story elements, what I didn't like, and so forth. And yes, in case you haven't guessed, this video will be spoiler-filled to the max. This season came out in 2014, but just in case, you've been fairly warned. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Season 3, I think, was gonna be a hard one to top. And I'm not just saying that because of the shocking penultimate episode, including the Red Wedding, moment of silence for Robb Stark, but it's also because the natural story progression in Season 3, I think, was the best up to that point. But somehow in Season 4, I feel like they upped the ante. And yeah, keeping on the subject of Robb Stark, I really should have learned my lesson right there. You should never get attached to any of these characters, because no one, no matter how early they're introduced to us, no one is exempt from certain brutal death. Yeah, case in point, oh boy, The Mountain versus the Viper, Episode 8, let's just talk about that. Now, Prince Oberyn Martell was a character I was really starting to love. He's introduced this season, and he's played by Pedro Pascal, who would of course gain worldwide fame through playing the Mandalorian himself. And he is so damn charismatic and fun to watch, guys. This guy is living life the most carefree way imaginable as a visitor in King's Landing, except for one little tidbit. He does not like the Lannisters. Not one bit. Let's just say that Tywin wronged him in the past via a family tragedy, and let's just say that he's out for blood. And I think this provides much needed conflict for the Lannisters this season, because after the Red Wedding, there's only a small handful of House Stark still roaming about in Westeros itself. So without some sort of rivalry or internal family conflict, which we'll certainly talk about, I think the Lannisters would just be coasting without any of this. But thankfully, it never feels like they're coasting, and that's part of why I loved Season 4 so much, because to me, Season 4 was more so about the individual character progression and evolution versus the blood-heavy medieval family feuds. And nowhere is that more apparent to me than the events on King's Landing itself, including Prince Oberyn's angle. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but Tyrion himself actually gets to a point where he demands another trial by combat, and Oberyn volunteers to step up to the plate for Tyrion to take on Cersei's champion Ser Gregor. And just when you think Oberyn's got vengeance, oh, good lord. Yeah, Ser Gregor sweeps the leg Cobra style, and those of you who've seen the show will know where I'm going with this, but Oberyn is slaughtered in what might be the most nightmare-inducing death visual I've ever seen. Yeah, if you're gonna watch Game of Thrones, tread lightly if you're sensitive to the bloody stuff. And while I'm on the subject of Tyrion, Peter Dinklage is once again fantastic this season. You guys are starting to see the reason why he was given so many awards and accolades for this role. And he's actually put on trial by his own father because his own sister accused him of poisoning King Joffrey. Which, no worries, I will definitely be talking about in this video because that was a huge thing this season. But that whole trial, which I believe went through 2 episodes, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't exactly remember off the top of my head, but I really loved it because I'll admit, I'm a sucker for courtroom dramas, and this really does feel like a courtroom drama taking place in the medieval times. And not only that, but the trial really digs deep into why Tyrion's been resented by his own family, especially Tywin, who is masterfully played once again by Charles Dance. And once you figure out the reasons why he's been so resented all his life, it's up, man. And that makes it all the more satisfying when Jaime the Kingslayer comes in and he's like, you know what? My sick freak sister may hate you, my father may hate you, but you're still my brother because you're a Lannister. Damn it. And yeah, I'll admit, it's still a little bit difficult for me to get behind this redemption arc they're trying out with Jaime. Don't get me wrong, this is a super cool character, and Nikolaj Coster-Waldau does a fantastic job portraying him. But him and Cersei still doing the... and then Joffrey's tomb also? Come on, man. I mean, there's a time and place for everything. Well, except what you're doing with Cersei. Time and place for everything else, except for that. Joking aside, this whole arc with Tyrion is especially more satisfying once we see Tyrion drive an arrow through his own father in the very exciting finale. And by the way, yes, I did laugh at the fact that Tyrion basically killed Tywin while he was on the toilet. And speaking of satisfying... oh boy, let's talk about Joffrey's death. In episode 2, mind you. Yeah, these showrunners were holding back no punches, guys. They were not messing around this season. And yes, I do realize I'm kind of jumping out of order in terms of chronological thoughts, but bear with me. But y'all know what happens. After Joffrey has been taunting Tyrion so hatefully, he chokes to death on his own poisoned wine at his wedding reception, and everyone who hated Joffrey rejoiced seeing him writhe around like that. And his murder actually does set up a pretty compelling mystery as to who actually did it. Was it someone from House Tyrell like Marjorie? Could it have been Sansa as an act of sweet, sweet revenge? Was it actually Tyrion as Cersei hastily? Nope, too predictable. I for one feel very conflicted about Joffrey's death. Now, don't get me wrong, I liked that he was written off, because I feel like he would have overstayed his welcome if he was kept around longer than he was. And that's just judging from the fact of how obnoxious he was becoming. But... did they really have to set up a whodunit with him? I, for one, kind of wished that Sansa actually did go through and kill him as an act of revenge after all the he made her go through 3 seasons at this point. And the whodunit aspects, too, it's like... I don't know, it was hard for me to care, just because we all hated Joffrey. I think once he was out of the picture, they should have just moved on. But no, they just kept bringing him up because we still don't exactly know who killed him. I feel like if they were gonna do a whodunit, and this is just really getting down to the nitpicks and constructive criticism at this point, but how much more investing would it have been if the poison actually went into someone who we actually liked? Like, imagine if Marjorie was the one poisoned instead. I realize a lot of people may reject this idea, but how interesting of a character study would Joffrey have become at that point? I'm not saying you can redeem him like he's this medieval John Walker or something, but you get where I'm going with this. Joffrey could become fully deranged at the notion of who the hell killed my wife. And I'm not saying keep him around the rest of the season. After, like, maybe an episode or 2 of this, then you could have Sansa kill him off after saying, like, you know what? I've had enough. Again, this might just be me nitpicking, but I feel like there was a missed opportunity here with making Joffrey's death even more satisfying. Because after this, Sansa does escape from King's Landing, and she does progress a little bit after Joffrey's assassination, but not a ton, because it's Lord Baelish to the rescue! And Baelish is actually a character that... he just rubs me the wrong way. I don't know what exactly pushed him over the edge for me. Maybe it was literally pushing Sansa's Aunt Lysa over the edge through that big gaping hole in the ground. Or maybe it was him creepily kissing Sansa. I don't know, man. I just kind of wish that Sansa had a little bit more development this season. And I'm sure she gets more down the line. But right here, especially after Joffrey had tormented her for as long as he did, again, I feel like there was a missed opportunity. Yeah, and speaking of Starks who I wish would progress more, Brandon. Now, every time I see him, this isn't a bad performance, and I really do like his little Undertaker-style powers he has where he rolls his eyes back into his head and he literally embodies a certain animal. But his story of going to find the three-eyed raven just didn't feel all that intriguing to me. Like, it doesn't feel like George R.R. Martin wrote this. It kind of feels Tolkien-ish, if that makes sense. If any of you guys are big gamers out there, Brandon's story almost felt like one of those optional side missions, you know, where you can complete it if you want to get closer to that 100% completion. But you get what I'm saying there? It's not like it's integral to your main story mode. But here, you have to go through the optional side mission with him. And I'm assuming this is all because he has some more important stuff later. On the other hand, there is one Stark I'm really starting to get behind. Little Arya, played by Maisie Williams. And she is not only freaking awesome in this performance, but I also love her banter with the Hound. This reluctant partnership they share is so much fun to watch. I love how she has a list of people she wants to kill and the Hound is having none of it because he doesn't think she can fight. Maybe more specifically, he doesn't think that she belongs out there in the elements. But this season, you actually see Arya kill a couple of dudes with her sword. And I have a feeling that Arya is going to turn into even more of a badass later. Keeping on the subject of badasses, oh boy, let's talk about Jon Snow, because he's got a lot going on with the Night's Watch. It feels like they're in this eternal battle with the Wildlings led by Jon's former lover, Ygritte, who y'all might remember betrayed him in the Season 3 finale. And Jon Snow does get a lot of badass fight sequences in here. He was so much fun to watch. And as per usual, Kit Harington also gives an awesome performance to go along with the action set pieces. Not only that, he also gets the coveted penultimate episode. Yeah, you heard me right. Episode 9 goes to the whole conflict with the Night's Watch and the Wildlings. And let me tell you, this is quite the battle. It's brutal, it's gritty. Director Neil Marshall did such an amazing job bringing these sequences to life. It all looks fantastic. And I'm not gonna lie, it does get kind of emotional because that whole battle does end with Ygritte's death, which let me just say really does affect Jon Snow, despite what she did to him at the end of Season 3. And I'm not gonna lie, that almost made me tear up a little bit, that whole little exchange they had, where Ygritte begs him to go back to the cave. Like, what a connection. Speaking of tearing up, never did I think Daenerys placing her babies on timeout would feel so sad. I mean, poor dragons. Yeah, joking aside, you totally understand why she does this. And this may sound crazy, but I think Daenerys may have the most underrated arc of the entire season. Even though it may feel like she's coasting in the land of Meereen and flirting with disaster, in this case known as Daario. And yeah, we're just gonna ignore that this is not Ed Skrein like it was last season. Like, what the hell? But you finally get a look at what Daenerys would look and feel like sitting on a throne and not necessarily as a conqueror. She feels like a natural born leader and Emilia Clarke portrays that super well. And she feels like a real leader too, because there are definitely things that you will agree with her on, like freeing the slaves. But then there are other things she does that may feel a little bit more divisive and polarizing. Like, how about the repetitiveness of her being introduced the way she is? God, I feel like the Queen's hand listing off her accolades is gonna be a gimmick. But guys, I really did love this season. If I were to pick a favorite arc, that's the crazy thing. There's so many great ones out there, but if I were to just pick one, I'd probably still say Tyrion is my favorite character, and his arc is my favorite this season if I had to pick, and I think Arya's would come a close second to that. But if there's a couple of characters I would say to watch out for in Season 5, Ramsay and Reek. Good God, we're all gonna hate this fucker, aren't we? And I'm not gonna downgrade this season too harshly despite the nitpicks I had with it, because I'm still overly invested in this story and these characters. This world is so awesome. And I'm gonna give Game of Thrones Season 4 its well-deserved A+. And I don't know if this is the best season up to this point. I still think I prefer Season 3 over this. The Stark-Lannister rivalry definitely took a back seat this round, but to me, it was the natural individual character progression that really carries this season over the hump, and I can't wait to see where these characters are taken next in Season 5. But of course, this is all just my opinion. What do you guys think of Game of Thrones? Do you watch it? Do you agree with my points? Do you not? Who is your favorite character? What's your favorite arc? As you guys know, I love making these videos with you guys and discussing cinema, television, and all things entertainment on the regular. So first things first, let's continue that discussion all down in the comments, shall we? And hey, if this is your first time visiting my channel today, thank you all so much. And please consider hitting that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can. It's completely free. It would really mean the world if you did so. And I'll tell you what, if you subscribe, you'll also be the first ones to know anytime a new video is uploaded over here. And one last reminder, guys, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Feel free to share this with your friends. And as always, look out for more exciting content hitting this channel very soon. You guys are the best. And with all that being said, back talk, commence.